This episode is brought to you by Freestyle Photographic Supply. Back in 1892, one company entered the market, at first targeting the elite and wealthy, but eventually taking over and addicting the entire nation. That company, of course, being Kodak. For a while now, I've been hoarding all types of expired Kodak films, eventually to be shot. I thought of it as preserving a little bit of history. So today, I want to take you on a little journey and explore multiple Kodak films from the past to see how they lasted over the sands of time, and how they even stack up against today's saucy sauce. Think of this as a mini history lesson. Except for, well, I don't have a history degree. I kind of skated through college in general, and I never learned to read. But hey, we'll have fun. So let's go to the desert. Man, last time we were here was a few years ago, but now I'm here with a bunch of expired Kodak and my Mamiya 645 to get some more frames. I also have my Mamiya 7 because you gotta love a good Mamiya 7. Yeah, TMax isn't the most exciting first film out of the gate, especially since I promised you some exotic films from the past. But for desert at high noon, I really wanted to get my feet wet, which technically I guess I really wouldn't be doing since it's desert at high noon. And it's hot, but I think you get my point. So generally, when I shoot expired film, I follow one simple rule. Overexpose your film one stop for every decade of expiration. Film, over time, can kind of deteriorate, kind of like the human body. So for this 20-year-old expired film, I should have, according to that loose rule, rated this film at ISO 25. I like that one. I think it's gonna be good. The shadow is kind of like bringing your eye into the building. I like it a lot. But black and white, and technically lower ISO films, can actually survive a bit better than color and slide film at higher ISOs. So that's why I rated this film at ISO 50. With all my experience of expired TMax over the years, I knew this baby could turn out just fine. I mean, I have TMax from the 70s that still kills it. And I must say, this film does not disappoint. Now, just because this shares the same name as that you would find on the shelves today, honestly, doesn't mean that this film hasn't been updated in some capacity. Film manufacturers are constantly improving the quality of their films. At least that's what I've been told. Overall, this first stop yielded some really decent results. Were they fiery bangers? No, but more like pleasing monochrome tapas. So I think what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna switch over to the Mamiya 7 right now, put in some 220,
Ektachrome to see what's up, because honestly, I don't think it's gonna turn out, but maybe it will. We'll try to blast through. This is from '99. Put in perspective, I was 10, the Phantom Menace came out, and it rocked everyone's world. Don't you think otherwise, okay? So, let's do it. Start here, and this is straight up sun.
Okay, let's get funky. As most of you know, Ektachrome is a color positive slide film. But unlike today's variant, Kodak actually used to have quite a number of different slide films under their umbrella E100sw being one of them. Yeah. So slide film doesn't keep well. It's kind of like that steak that you have in the back of your fridge for the past 20 years. Usually ain't good. These colors are wackadoodle-doo. It took a very, very long time to color correct these images into something I even wanted to show you. And even then, they ain't good. So according to this professional color reversal suggestion application PDF, the E100sw was good for 3 things: fashion, nature, and photojournalism/sports. Now, even though these images look, well, quite terrible, you can't deny the resolve and the sharpness that this film still retains. Look at this photo of Jason, still crispy.
So I'm kind of scared about shooting my 220 roll in my Mamiya 7 because it's E6. And historically, expired E6 does not do well. I don't know who had it before me. I've kept it cold for a while. I think it's good.
Now, E100sw was a daylight balance version of E100s, which at the time was their top dog in the Ektachrome line of films. But that W that they slapped on the end stood for warm, so no need for a jacket. Eventually, E100sw was replaced by E100G and GX. Now, I didn't research what those meant, because I don't have them.
That's it. That's all she wrote. 20. Wow. Okay. Mamiya 645 time.
So in the beginning of Portra, before the singular name existed, we, the consumer, had variety of portraits. The most common of them being Portra VC and Portra NC. A while back, I actually made a dedicated video about Portra NC and how much I really enjoyed shooting that film. But I hadn't gotten to try the VC variant until now. VC standing for very f***ing cool, but then they decided to drop the F. And then they eventually renamed it to Vivid Color. I mean, I get it. Marketing can be fickle. Now, for these 2 rolls, I specifically did not color correct these images because I wanted to see what they looked like bare bones.
So this is like a last minute, and I've always wanted to know the difference between the 2, and especially it'd be interesting to know the difference of the 2 now that they're both expired. Back in the day, it made sense. One was a vivid color, one was a neutral color, but now, what are they? You know, are they the same? Are they different? Does expiration do anything to those 2 stocks? So we'll see. I'm gonna compare and contrast both together.
So back in the 90s, you didn't have these fancy scanners or printers to duplicate your images. So saturation needed to be baked into an image, kind of like fruit in a cake. No. No, fruit doesn't belong in a cake. It belongs in the trash. Overall, I really like the VC variant of this Portra. The colors are warm and pleasant. I mean, I guess as pleasant as decaying dwellings could be.
I'm gonna put the 80 on, 80 on, 80 on. I never switch this lens.
Yeah, I see why the NC was primarily used for weddings. This photo of Jason definitely looks better on NC over the VC variant. Mainly because VC makes Jason look like he's holding in a fart, which he might be. I must admit, I definitely will continue to shoot the rest of these stocks I currently have.
New film, who dis? But I think I'm gonna go back to the 28 because the 28 is just so fucking awesome. Excuse my French.
Good old tungsten film. You really don't see a lot of photographic films represented with that tungsten brand name anymore. Other than those cinema films, that is. And not to mention, E120.
Hard with one hand, I gotta say.
Overall, these first few images are pretty solid. This film has definitely held up quite nicely. So far, the image of this goldish building is my favorite. All the elements in the frame are inviting you in. It's just taking your hand and leading you along the way. Funny enough, this is totally the first time using flash for this camera. And yes, I'm well aware it looks very strange. I feel like I might have to fly with this weird ass Millennium Falcon a little bit more often. Yeah, so this is what happens when you try bouncing a flash off wooden, dark, rotten beams.
Okay.
Just doesn't work well. Back in the day, I believe this film was primarily aimed for those shooting studio sessions with all those tungsten balanced lights. So in the day, theoretically, you should have kind of a bluish tint, unless you use a filter. But that's not the case here. And it's not my color correction either. I think at the end of the day, this 100T didn't really stick around as long as Portra VC or NC because it was probably too niche. I'm sure all those other films just performed well under those same conditions.
To be fair, I think we're spent for the night. I don't think we can do any more here. So we might go back to the hotel and get wasted. I mean, drink booze. I mean, you know what I mean.
Oh! Oh, fuck!
Raw and Brawley. This noob booked us a one king bed. Jason has to sleep on the floor. I don't feel sorry for him.
Great. That one's yours. This is what I get in the morning.
Not that bad.
Okay, wow.
Those drama classes you've been taking have been paying off.
Someone thinks he knows a thing about coffee now since he
Yeah.
started drinking frappuccinos.
Damn it. Not only did we miss sunrise by 3 minutes, Vericolor III looks like I mean, that's probably what we can expect from a film that's nearly 30 years old that had an entire life of its own before it got to me. Oh, okay. Maybe I was a bit hasty. This shot actually turned out quite nice. It just has a bit of discoloration at the bottom of the frame, but that's about it. I guess I could just keep going without crying. Crying about film, at least. This film was probably just not stored properly. I was so looking forward to shooting this film as well, especially since I enjoyed it in ISO 160. One guess that I have is because it's 220 film. For 220, part of the film has no backing. So maybe it doesn't keep as long as 120? But to be fair, that's just totally a guess, and I don't even know if that's possible. Okay, so both of these films here, the dunes, seem to actually even out a little bit. I even like the texture of this image on the top of the hill. It almost makes me not want to barf. Overall, I wonder if it's because the middle of the film can stay intact a little bit longer because it is more tight to light. Now, before the planet was introduced to the wonderful world of Portra, the main professional line that Kodak had up their sleeves and under their jackets was VPS, Vericolor. Vericolor was their professional line of film, and apparently very, very popular. Most of the professional photographers were sad to see it go. Kind of like how we are sad to see any film leave the shelf. We, actually, may be even more desperate than they were. I don't do it often, but flipping a photo to black and white can sometimes save it all.
Oh, let's kill the roll here.
Oof. That's how you know it's real expired.
For being 20 years old, this film is fire. Because black and white tends to keep better than color does, I opted to only overexpose this film by one stop instead of that decade rule. And I think it was a good choice. This film is wonderful. Now, you might have noticed that this black and white film has the name Portra in it. How perceptive. Portra BW was part of their hepagonish Portra family alongside the VC and NC 400 films. But the benefit of that Portra name meant that the film could actually be developed in C41 chemistry, just like all the others in the Portra line. That made it easy to just toss it all together and say, develop please.
Found this really sweet location off the side of the road, so we decided to stop, which is a good idea because you can kind of look at this place. It's pretty sick. I mean, there's a lot of cool things here, so we're gonna explore. Come along with us.
Unfortunately, nowadays, Ilford XP2 is the only black and white film that can be developed in C41 properly. I mean, I guess you can develop anything and whatever you want, but I guess I wouldn't advise it. Meow. Overall, this film has held up quite nicely. Now, I'm gonna start off by saying it is incredibly hard to find information about this film, but specifically in medium format. I mean, basically no one knows that it exists in 120, but this film still exists in 35mm. So unlike a lot of these other films, I guess, except for TMax, you could totally pick some up today. And speaking of picking up film, guess where you might be able to find some film of your own? Freestyle Photo. Freestyle has been killing the photographic game for a while now, and they are the #1 shop for all those photo needs. They have everything you could want, from scanning solutions to photo enlarging to printers, and even, of course, that sweet, sweet, sweet film in all different formats: 35, 120, 4x5, and up to the large 8x10. They also have their own line of Holga cameras, and the newest one even sparkles. Anytime I need something, I just pop on over to this store or sit on my ass and shop online. It's that easy. So if you're now looking at your stash of expired films and you need some of that new fresh stock, you know the right place to get them. Just check out my link in the description box below. Now, let's get back to the video before I expire. Pro Image is a color negative film that features high color saturation, accurate colors, and pleasing skin tones, and can be stored at room temperature, even in hot, humid climates. This was clearly made for an international market. No other film I know of wants to be humid. Well, no one actually in the entire universe wants to be humid. That's just sticky. At the end of the day, this film was made to be an alternative to gold and to cut some costs. Look how vibrant this house is. I would have never in my wildest dreams think that this was expired. It holds up wonderfully. I'm not gonna lie, this makes me want to give Pro Image and 35 another go. So yeah, that scared the shit out of me. As soon as I took that photo through the door frame of the camping chair, my shutter apparently woke up a human that was taking a nap in a very crinkly sleeping bag, right on the other side of where I was standing. Out of the hundreds of houses that I have explored in my time, this was my first encounter. And yeah, I peed myself. A little bit. Just a little bit, so. I have to say, this film held up quite nicely. Maybe that's to do with the fact that you could put it in your back pocket and wear those jeans around the world for 20 years before taking them out. Now, after exploring that town a little bit further, we decided to head back to LA. Ever since the sleeping bag sounds of 2024 rocked me to my core, I wasn't the same. Overall, this was a fun little 2-day getaway, shooting all these ghosts of films of stocks past. Am I disappointed that some of these shots looked like, well, yeah. Yeah, I am, but I took that gamble. I think this trip made me learn a very valuable lesson. Slide film just looks bad when expired. Super old color film from the 90s looks like ass. Early 2000s low-speed color film can give you good results, and black and white is usually fine. Don't worry about it. Overall, expired film is a total gamble. And if you're okay with that, or have a crippling gambling addiction, go for it. Well, like a film addiction. I'm not advocating for you to go to Vegas and bet it all on black. No. I think at the end of the day, I learned that I'm just kind of over expired films for the most part. I just don't think it's worth it. But I have to say, the packaging does look really cool. Well, till next time, I think you should go out and shoot some film. Okay, bye.